Ready. Play.
Okay, so ciao. Not a very bad start for your first grass court match. How do you feel on the grass?
Well, feeling good. I arrived on Thursday, so I had a bit of practice here, and the type that I play a bit more aggressively, it goes good. I go aggressively, and the game on grass is it's very quick. The points are very quick, so I like playing grass. It's my third time, but first on pro.
Yeah.
So feeling so good and winning with ex-top 20 guy, Kyle. Well, it means a lot for the first round. And,
Yeah, he's obviously a very good player on grass as well. How does this give you confidence going into the summer?
For sure, yes. For sure, yes. It was a good match. And, I'm practicing a lot of my serve, so today was a good opportunity to close the doors, my serve. So, yeah, it gives me more confidence to go through this week.
And where are you thinking of playing this summer? Are you going to stay in Europe, in Germany on the grass, or?
I'll play here, Nottingham and New Clay, and then if I go into Wimbledon, I'll play Wimbledon. And let's see.
Have you thought about playing Wimbledon? Is that something that you used to watch on TV, or?
It's my favorite Grand Slam, my favorite tournament. It's a dream if I play, but let's see.
Yeah. And you started the year 700 in the Worlds. You're now kind of knocking on the door at 200. Is that surprising you that it's happened at this age, at 17, or not surprising?
Yeah, I talk a lot of that in the interviews that I say. It's very surprising because I'm like breaking the expectations of myself, not others people. But I'm very happy to the way that I'm playing, and the way that I'm improving. And I know I'm still in the process. I can go further and further, but let's keep the process humble and calm.
Yeah, it's key to stay humble, and I know it's quite hard to set objectives. But do you have any objectives for the summer or for the rest of the year?
I would say play a Grand Slam this year. I'm trying. I almost hit in Roland Garros. Let's see if I get into Wimbledon and maybe US Open. So maybe these are the objectives.
And are you watching the French Open at the moment?
For sure, yes.
Who do you think is going to win?
It's difficult. It's open. I think maybe Sinner. I'm cheering for him. I like.
And when you're watching kind of the top guys, like these guys playing in Grand Slam semi-finals and so what, does this give you inspiration, and does it make you want to be there one day as well?
For sure. Watching Carlos and Sinner winning those Grand Slams so young, it gives me inspiration to go for it.
Thank you.
If there's one match from Rafa's story where you think that was a missed opportunity, there was a big chance.
I have matches,
2
or 3 in Australian Open. No more. We lose the opportunity in Wimbledon against Djokovic in semi-final.
2018.
Then we lose the opportunity, more important because that was semi-final. We lose the opportunity in Australian Open. In the Australian Open 2014, 2012 and 2017.
Yeah.
In 14 because he has an injury against Wawrinka that before he had never lose against him. Then with Djokovic and Federer, he had breakup in the 5th.
Yeah.
And 40-30 or the 30-50, I don't remember well. It was a ball very close, goes. But this is what happened. There was in Roland Garros 2009. Of course, I am sure that he won. He won this tournament when he has no problems in his knee, because at this moment he was the best. He won Australian Open, then he won the tournaments on clay, and he arrived with problems in Roland Garros. For this reason, in my opinion, he lose. But there are others time that maybe he has to lose and he won.
If there's one match from Rafa's story where you think that was a missed opportunity, there was a big chance. There
I have matches,
2
or 3 in Australian Open. No more. We lose the opportunity in Wimbledon against Djokovic in semi-final.
2018.
Then we lose the opportunity more important because that was semi-final. We lose the opportunity in Australian Open. In the Australian Open 2014, 2012 and 2017.
Yeah.
In 14 because he has an injury against Wawrinka that before he had never lose against him. Then with Djokovic and Federer, he had breakup in the 5th.
Yeah.
And 40-30 or the 30-50, I don't remember well. It was a ball very close, goes. But this is what happened. There was in Roland Garros 2009. Of course, I am sure that he won. He will win. He won this tournament when he has no problems in his knee, because at this moment he was the best. He won Australian Open, then he won the tournaments on clay, and he arrived with problems in Roland Garros. For this reason, in my opinion, he lose. But there are others time that maybe he has to lose and he won.
If there's
My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
My name is Zainab Sammaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect. Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to what is the second semi-final from Dubai. We've already had a bit of a cracker, or at least there's certainly a tight match earlier on in the day with FAA coming through from a set down to beat the French qualifier Quentin Halys, managing to win 6-3 in the third. But now we go on to a match that holds the only seed left in the draw. Of course, the fourth seed, Stefanos Tsitsipas. I have Brenner. Is that how I pronounce it?
Yes, sir.
Good. Double checking on that one. I'm terrible with pronunciation. So I got Brenna in the with me today. How are you doing? It's the first time I've been.
I just broke up a bit there. But I'm good. I'm good. Happy to be on today. Looking forward to a great match.
I think maybe James is temporarily frozen, but he'll be back shortly.
Okay,
Brenna.
that's what I thought.
Brenna, have you got any thoughts on the match itself you want to share?
Yeah, I think this should be exciting. It's only a 2-0 head-to-head.
Oh, I think I've got James back. Go on.
There you go. Yeah, 2-0 head-to-head to Stefanos Tsitsipas. They last played in Rotterdam just a few weeks ago. In what was a very, very tight match. It came down to some pressure points. And, I think the surface was a bit slower than it will be today indoors in Rotterdam. But very, very streaky players we have here today, both playing at a high level. I think Griekspoor, felt like he was out of it yesterday versus Medvedev, but was able to hang tough and find a way to beat Daniil Medvedev. And then for Stefanos Tsitsipas, kind of a similar situation where I think he came up with one of the best, pickups of his entire career, 1540, down 2 break points. So he's had a great week. I think he should be full of confidence here. And both guys are going to look to be aggressive and play points on their terms.
No, certainly, as you say, that head-to-head, certainly the last match from a couple of weeks ago in Rotterdam suggests that this could be 3 or potentially up to 3 very tight sets if they end up going that way. But as you say, it's been a good week for Steph. He's managed to get through a lot of players who certainly over the last year or so, outside of a clay court, we would have kind of expect him to kind of lose to. I mean, he played Berrettini yesterday, played very well to be able to come back from what was a bit of a car crash of a second set, which kind of leads into the streakiness element you sort of mentioned there. But then the previous round to be able to beat Karen Kachanov, that had banana skin written potentially all over it. I mean, this is a pretty good show for a guy who on an outdoor half court can barely get string a couple of back-to-back wins together.
No, seriously, and this is his first semifinal, I think, since July in Gstaad. So, and obviously that's a clay surface. But yeah, I've been wowed by Steph. I think this is his best week, since that little clay court swing between Monte Carlo and Barcelona. So definitely a lot to build on here. What I've been most impressed is how he looks a lot more comfortable in these rallies, and he's actually a lot harder to read from the baseline. I think a couple times yesterday with Berrettini on some of these approaches, he goes inside out more often than not, but he was able to take it cross court as well, kind of by surprise. So, I'll be looking to see how he moves up the court and puts the pressure on Griekspoor.
No, indeed, and it's keeping that pressure on Griekspoor is key to your ability to try and actually beat the Dutch guy, because he can be unbelievably hard and unbelievably aggressive in a lot of matches, which tends to be how he keeps with a lot of the top players, and he always gets so close to potentially trying to at least win to be able to win those matches. And again for Tallon, he's had a bit of a wonderful route through as well. I mean, yesterday saving 2 match points in the second set to be able to then take it to a tiebreaker, and then to be able to then go on and win the third set, and then the day previous to that to be able to knock out the defending champion Ugo Humbert. I mean, that's a couple of toughies as a second and a quarter final.
Totally. I mean, he's just I think it's his serving is so impressive. I'd say I don't know what his metrics is. I'd be interested to look into kind of his numbers, but I'd say, for his size, he's one of the best servers on tour at his size. And he'll be looking to continue to that today as we are now getting underway. Griekspoor to serve.
Yes, it is Griekspoor to see who is the next question, which is who's going to be too far in front.
It sounds like it might be me.
Have they
We'll
hit
make
balls yet?
adjustments.
Have they hit balls yet on your screen?
Yep, 15 love, Griekspoor.
Right.
All right.
Well, he's literally just come to the baseline in my one, about to serve the first point. What I may do then is I will. Yeah, I can't rely on this one. I'm way behind. Right, let's move over to another. Bizarrely, on my system, the iPad tends to be the quickest.
Right. And if not, I think I could move to a TV that's a little bit behind. So
No, that's all right. Let's just see first of all. So on my screen now, I've got it at. Come on, load. Okay, I've got it at 30 love Griekspoor. Take that as positive.
Yeah.
And now 40 love Griekspoor.
Yeah.
Right,
like
so
10 to 12 seconds. That's fine.
Are you in front or behind?
In front.
You're in front.
I'll just hold off on you.
There we go. It's always the fun bit of a start of a stream to try and make sure everyone's married up.
I can jump back a bit too, actually, now that I realize. All right.
Well, there we go. And Tallon Griekspoor with a very quick service game there to make it 1 love. Just to start, the Dutchman will won.
Yeah, I think the start should be important here. You know, Steph's been serving well this week. You know, behind his serve, it's been good. His +1 has been impressive. You know, that's where Griekspoor can do his damage on his +1. So, you know, both servers are important. You know, Steph's been relying more on his chip returning. You know, it's not his strong suit. It's been something he's been trying to improve on in the hard courts. Today he's gonna probably have to work on reading the Griekspoor serve as best as possible. Griekspoor is very, you know, it sounds simple, but he's very low margin, huge hitter, very low margin, especially on serve as well. Looking to go like ace T or ace wide, and not much in between.
Yeah, the idea of a body serve is a bit of an alien concept to Tallon.
Right.
Good back. Oh yeah, and we already see, at least in this exchange. Oh, I mean, that is the reason why the one-handed backhand cannot go extinct. Those sorts of down the line winners. I mean, it's poetry in action in tennis terms.
Yeah, he pulled off an amazing backhand down the line yesterday versus Berrettini. Not much pressure on it, but
I've seen a couple that Chapo has done in Acapulco this week. Or Tallon tries to stick a backhand up the line, but that's the problem with a two-hander. You can't get the spin rates that you can on a one-handed.
Right, and I think back to that match in Rotterdam between these two, and I think it was the Griekspoor backhand that just didn't hold up as well as it should have. It's always a nervy moment playing at home, you know, indoors. I think is probably Griekspoor's favorite tournament. So, you know, he knows how much, you know, it means to him and the crowd. So he might have gotten a little bit tight in that match, but that was like the first time we saw, you know, Steph playing really well on hard courts. And he's really just continued that. I mean, it was a really, it's kind of a fall off match. I'm forgetting who he lost to in the next round in Rotterdam, but I was like, okay, it's good to see him playing some good tennis on a hard court.
Oh, wasn't it Bellucci?
That's right. Who also had a stellar week.
It was Bellucci. Yes, I remember that Bellucci because he beat Medvedev the round prior and then took out Tsitsipas before losing to Alex de Minaur in the semis.
Right.
Now that is encyclopedia levels of knowledge when it comes to 250 results from like the second round. Well, that turned out to be a pretty quick service game as well. So onto another service game. I mean, what did you make of Felix's result? Getting past good old Quinton Halys.
Yeah, I thought it was huge. I thought it was huge for Felix. I didn't watch the first set, but I was able to watch the final two, and Felix rebounded well. I think he's got to be super excited. He's stringing a lot of wins together. I just saw he's third in the live race, so he has a lot to be happy about. But I think what's most important is kind of his mental moments. As Griekspoor hits a backhand into the net, which makes it love 30.
That was a poor backhand.
Yeah, we've seen two of those already.
Opening up a bit of a half chance here, as they say, for Stefanos. Who I learnt today, or at least this week, is Stefanos is actually Greek for Stephen, which now makes me look at Stefanos in a completely different way when I look at him and call him Steven Tsitsipas. Makes him sound like a local builder.
And great effort there from Steph. He spread the court well, but Griekspoor was able to take a forehand cross court early, and the stab return goes into the net. So 15-30. Still pressure on here early. But what I will say was, I thought that Bublik match was really huge for Felix. It's never easy to play Bublik, obviously, no matter where you are, what time of day, what country you're in. But
no, it's but it's. I mean, when Bublik's on, he can be on.
Exactly,
but
and
he's just one of those. I mean, it's a tough one at the moment because he just feels as though he's been unserious for significantly longer period of time than he has normally. If that makes any sense.
Griekspoor, yep. Griekspoor, big rip.
Yeah, Griekspoor's easily saved that there. A bit of a problem there, but it's righted itself.
Yeah, you can see what Steph's looking to do there. He's looking to trap him on the baseline. It's a good return. Griekspoor is able to, deflect that pace to the opposite corner, and a big serve. So he holds for 2-1. Got out of an early jam. And we have the first sit down in the match. But yeah, I will highlight that Bublik match because Bublik is a defending finalist here in Dubai. So you kind of know what matches Bublik's going to get up for. And obviously defending points in Montpellier, defending points here. He tries to bring his A game, but Felix is able to outdo him.
Yeah, and
he had a look to.
And Bublik now is going to rock down into the 80s on the ranking. His top 100 credential or his status is severely under threat at the moment.
Right. I'm a Bublik. I think he's great for the game. So I don't want that. I don't want to see any more of that. Need him to climb back up in the rankings. I don't think he has done much on the clay.
Oh, he hates the clay. I mean, he categorically tells us he hates the clay. So if he's going to he's going to collect any points, it's going to be in the Sunshine Double or not at all.
Right.
So that is that's the issue facing Alexander at the moment. I'm hoping that my internet connection has been a little bit more stable because I think I've cut out a couple of times.
No worries. Yeah, James. So, what do you make of Felix's year thus far? I mean, categorically, it's insane, but
it is. It's him being solid and consistent. Being significantly more solid and consistent than he was doing last year. I mean, been able to first of all get through Adelaide. He had a couple of tricky matches against Tommy Paul and a couple of others as well along there to be able to win his first outdoor hard court title, even though technically it has a big canopy above the court, which makes it half and half, in my opinion.
Indoor, outdoor.
indoor, outdoor, and then winning the title in Montpellier, getting to the final here, having a good run last week to the semis in Doha. I mean, has the real Felix Auger-Aliassime is the kid that we all saw and.
Yeah, it seems like James cut out, but yeah, it's the Felix of old. It's good to see him, smiling and gaining confidence again. And I think this Hals win was huge last week in Doha. He did make a run to the semis, losing to Rublev in a breaker, but
projecting, and who.
Sorry, James, you cut out there, but you are back.
Yeah, I'm hoping it. I don't understand it. It's been completely fine, and then all of a sudden they come on the stream, and then it decides to go funny.
That's part of it. But yeah, the win versus House today was big because that first round match in Doha, Qatar last week was a battle, and he was only able to prevail in a third set tiebreaker. So, to come back from a set down today, a lot of matches for Hals, especially legs wise, came through qualities here in Dubai. So winning that first set was huge for him, but just wasn't able to mentally engage. And you got to credit Felix, played so big on those break points.
No, he did, and like I think I was about to say, is the kid that had all the promise? Has he come back? Has the woes of the Tsitsipas of a couple of years ago, also the woes of a Felix from a couple of years ago, has that now disappeared? And is he about to make himself a significant name again at the top of the men's game?
I think all signs are pointing that direction, and Felix was there is a grid click order as well. So I mean, you're looking at two guys who overperformed in the hard court swing, and they're obviously with two masters ahead, they still have opportunities, but they're going to take so much momentum with them into the clay season where they're far better tuned for it compared to a lot of these more nationally hard court oriented players.
I don't think you started to almost start getting a bit of a wayward eye towards the clay courts yet. I know I've been entertained a bit this week by some of the matches that are taking place in Santiago.
Yeah, definitely a little bit different. I think it's a good last stop of the Golden Swing. Buenos Aires super slow, Rio slow as well, tough conditions, and then you give big servers like Yannick Hoffman an opportunity to perform in some altitude. It always kind of offers a little bit of a different feel to these matches. It's good to see Laszlo Jiri playing well, very flat ball striker, and getting a lot out of his serve this week. He'll have his hands full today though with Jamie Faria, who's on a hot run, dating back to last week in Rio. So
yeah, and of course, friend of the show, big friend of the show, and we want to make sure that he want to make sure that he does as well as possible. I mean, yeah, as you say, 2 back-to-back quarterfinals in the main tour for somebody who a couple of weeks ago was just well outside the world's top 100. I mean, that's a good showing from the lad, and he'll be able to get himself certainly into a lot of maybe a couple of the 250s, some of the bigger 500s in the clay court swing, qualifying for the Masters events. I mean, at the moment, actually, I think he was ranking. He may be in a position where he'll be in the Masters events for Madrid and Rome.
I think you make a good point, James. And I think this is something that, like the ATP can really, nail down, is the fact that the Golden Swing, it just brings so many opportunities as Griekspoor holds comfortably for a 3-2 lead. But yeah, there's so many opportunities, just looking over the past, 2 weeks. We're familiar with Sevi Baez, and he's done great here. But a guy like Alex Mueller, who's able to shoot up the rankings, play some really good tennis, and Fadia as well. So,
I mean, Sana. I mean, he's made a bit of a name for himself.
Exactly.
the last couple of weeks. I mean, in reality, the match against Baez yesterday, he should have won. He was the better player for a large chunk of that match. And if it wasn't just down to the fact of Baez having an inspired moment when he fell over to be able to still win the point, it may have been Comersano who won that match. And of course, the interesting thing with Baez and Comersano is that they have the same coach. They have the same coach, so they know each other incredibly well. I think they're really great mates off the court. And also, Ugo Carberry, he's had a really good couple of.
Yeah, James just mentioned Ugo Carabelli as well, another Argentine who's had a great golden swing. Was able to take down Montero in the altitude yesterday. He saved 2 match points at 5-4, 15-40. Went on to win the second set comfortably in a tiebreak, 7-2, and then was able to cap it off.
I think I'm back.
Yes, you are. And Stefanos Tsitsipas to serve.
I do apologise, this Brenner. It's not usually like this.
It's all right. We're making do.
Just looking to get my screen back up, and my screen is now back up in terms of at least being able to watch the tennis.
Beautiful. James, I'm wondering, I think, this is a quick surface, two big servers who back their serve very well. When it comes to a tiebreak, both of them have played their fair share over the last week or two. Who would you fare, from a mental standpoint? I talked about in Rotterdam, I felt like Griekspoor's backhand let him down a bit in the big moments. Who would you fancy?
I mean, you say mentally, I would kind of. Good question. I mean, at the moment, I think based off how they're performing on their own serves, I would back probably Tsitsipas just to be able to get through it. If it went to a tiebreaker, certainly in this set at the moment, just because he's been a bit more solid. Whereas there's been a couple of service games on the Griekspoor serve where Steph has had a look in.
Yeah, so just dating back to Doha, Griekspoor beat Struff in 2 tiebreaks. He lost to Berrettini in 3. 2 of the sets going to tiebreak, so they split them. First round, he played in Dubai. He played Roman Safalin, and he beat him in 3. 2 of those coming in tiebreaks.
What a volley!
Insane. These hands.
I mean, the ability to take that literally in the air, like not even to allow it to bounce. I mean, that is risky. That has risk written all over it.
Right, the swinging volley, I think it's one of the more difficult shots in tennis, and Steph prefers it. Makes it look easy. But then getting back to Griekspoor again, he won the sole tiebreaker yesterday versus Medvedev. So he's had a great record over his last 6. So that's good news for Griekspoor fans.
For
Griekspoor went very, very deep with that return position, and the ball the serve dropped a lot shorter than he thought he did, so he just had to stab it back And Stefanos puts a forehand away to even it up at 3-all in the first set. And going back to what I was saying about tie breaks, Stefanos has played 3 tie breaks this week and won all 3. So, like I mentioned, 2 guys who have been living off the tie break, but have yielded positive results.
Very good. Okay, we be good as well if anyone in the chat wants any questions or any comments you want to make about the match. Please do put them in there. Very quiet today. There's a lot of you there. You see a bit of a backhand exchange at the moment. Oh, that just lands on the line there from Stefanos. Like I said, Steph is really making some inroads on the Griekspoor service games. Good backhand, really makes him neutralizes the point very quickly. Goes in there for a lob, smash from Steph straight back to Griekspoor. Nice hands at the net from Tsitsipas. Nice hands at the net there.
It's unreal. It's unreal. He's backing himself well. He's getting to the net, trusting his hands, really putting the pressure on. Sport and politics. Good morning, good afternoon. Are we witnessing the Steph rebirth? That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. Very, very comfortable from the baseline. Yep, the racket adjustment. That's, who's to say how much of a difference that's making, but the results are yielding. So,
I mean, if this is a bit of a resurgence, talk about literally the last possible time to be able to do it. It feels though, because the way the season, or at least the way that with the back end of the last season into the beginning of the second was going, it potentially was looking as though Tsitsipas was about to fall out of the world's top 30. Never mind actually, remain as a significant force in the top of the game.
Yeah, no, it felt like a little bit of a kind of a Tiafoe situation. I think he dropped outside the top 20 last season. All right, here we have our first, big point of the match, 3-all, 30-all.
Great returning. I mean, Steph's reading it like a book. Scrambling.
And yeah, just going back to the basics.
I mean, just the way he's able to just connect with the serve of Griekspoor, which is a very heavy serve, and instantaneously become the main aggressor and directing it where he wants. I mean, yikes is the only way I could probably describe that.
All right, here we are, Griekspoor facing breakpoint, 30-40.
Good backhand, forehand by Griekspoor, forehand by Steph. Oh, does that land in? Just about. Goes at the line.
Yeah.
Goes in. It wasn't able to really get control at that point. Steph. Griekspoor's remained the main aggressor.
Yep, Griekspoor cheating a little bit on that backhand, looking to set up in that inside-out forehand slot. I like to call it somewhat of a triple threat, having the opportunity to go inside in, inside out, or, the drop shot if you have time on it. Good save from Griekspoor, but Steph.
Look at that.
With the laser inside in forehand.
That backhand is going exactly where I want it. I'm in control of the point, and I'm just going to swat away ball number 4.
Yeah, and that's how it's felt all week. From the ground, he's able to, change the angles so easily, so casually, and be the main aggressor. So breakpoint 2 here for Griekspoor. Steph with another deep return.
He's in control. He's in control. Cross-court exchanges. Griekspoor's now in control. Oh, it goes behind him. Goes down the line, bounces off the net. Oh, just kills all the ball. Steph, though, just about keeps it in, up the line, right at the body serve. Oh, and it just off the frame of the racket of Steph. You felt that was the opportunity.
Totally. I mean, very, very courageous effort from Griekspoor. Wasn't a best ball to approach on. He hit a forehand to Steph standing in the middle of the court, and he took his first volley from about a step inside the service line. So just another example of Griekspoor backing himself, trying to be the main aggressor and put pressure on Steph, and it was good enough there. As Griekspoor gets a free point. Yeah, so far so good from Steph in terms of, return position, getting balls back in play, putting the pressure on. He did a good enough job against Berrettini yesterday, kind of in that sense. Obviously just trying to neutralize the serve, the biggest weapon, as much as possible, and look to get Berrettini on the move. He wasn't, doing as well with his ground strokes on the move. And that's something that I think Steph actually does so well, is on the move. He's able to create angles and create, power.
I mean, I don't think I've ever watched a match so far where Steph's backhand has looked so much of an actual asset instead of a liability.
Yeah, I mean, there was a perfect example of it. He's on the run. It wasn't a good return, but he's on the run to his forehand. He's able to put the forehand back up behind Griekspoor, back up the line, and then, gets a shorter ball. He's able to look to attack, and Griekspoor overhits. So here we are at deuce.
You can already see Tallon is already drenched in sweat.
Griekspoor just misses the wide serve.
Just about gets in. It's currently control. Did it get this one over?
Wow. What
Jesus.
a pickup from Griekspoor.
I mean, the way he was going straight low to his body. I mean, he's doing all he can at that stage.
That is insane hands.
Yeah.
Both these guys so comfortable at the net. It wasn't an easy volley from Griekspoor, but kind of got into that volley forehand slot. Yeah. As our producer mentions, Griekspoor's net play this week has been nuts. I still think that
we just get Steph decides, I know what, I've somehow got this laser where I'm hitting these returns onto the line every single time, and all you can do is fumble to get your racket onto it.
Exactly. So we're back to our third deuce now, I think, in this game. By far the longest game of the match.
Yeah, they're really, this feels important. If Griekspoor wins this, maybe a little bit of momentum is shifted to his side. If Tsitsipas wins this, you really feel as though the game that we're seeing at the moment is bearing out. Oh, goes for the lob, smash from Tallon. Just about gets it back from Steph. He did a good job there to neutralize that point. Well, Griekspoor is just doing all he can. Or drop shot. Oh, just a poor drop shot there by Tsitsipas. Kind of a bit of a bailout. It felt like that shot.
Yeah, it definitely felt like a bailout. Steph was all over that rally.
Yeah, the forehand down the line was available.
Jake, good morning. How are we doing? Good so far. Enjoying the thrill of the seventh game here. Wow, Steph all over the return, but just a couple steps to Griekspoor's right, and he rips a cross-court forehand to hold. So 4-3. Wow, the one who wins this game will will be the one who wins the match. I think it's a little bit too early for that, but I am with you. There's always a couple monumental games. Yeah, as our producer mentioned yesterday with Griekspoor, it's always tough playing Medvedev. You gotta, stay mentally sound, understand there are going to be some long rallies, understand there's going to be tactical changes. And obviously you're playing one of the best passers in Medvedev. So, you got to come to the net with with a lot of courage and trust yourself there. And he did great yesterday, cutting down angles. And I felt like he, as the match went on, Medvedev's play became much more predictable. And in that marathon 12th game, it was just a common pattern of backhand cross court, and he was kind of urging Medvedev to do the backhand down the line, which he did, but it was a little bit too conservative, and eventually pulled through. So that was a great little mental battle there for Griekspoor, and he showed it again there in the 7th game.
And we got Man Asvi, who's rooting for Oja. I'm guessing that means it's Oja Aliassime to win in the final. She calls us tomorrow. Oh yeah, so that's a good question actually. What do you think of the WTA rebrand?
I wasn't the biggest fan. I need time to digest. I think that's the right selection, but how about you, James?
I don't like it at all.
Yeah.
I like all these little promo clips that they're putting out of all the players. That I like. But the logo, I mean, we'll have to see. I think certainly for the score graphics, like during the match and whatnot.
All right, Newton is Greek, the lob god. He's good. Good lobber, has great hands. Haven't seen one yet. But yes, we are talking the WTA rebrand. Definitely interesting to see the green behind there. Obviously, we're more accustomed to seeing the purple color.
We'll have to see.
No, it does not seem that rock and roll. What they're making it out to be.
James is going to just reset his internet. In the meantime, I'll be just filling in, Brenner. But yeah, on the rebrand, yeah, I mean, considering all the build-up, the sort of days before it, just you wait and see. And I didn't know what was coming. I wasn't expecting a new logo. I was expecting other things. And by the way, those other things may still yet come. But yeah, so far, I think I found it a bit underwhelming. There was the initial few hours of people tweeting about it. And you obviously had all these promo videos that James has highlighted. But I think you're already seeing one or two people further down the tennis ladder, like, players outside the top 100 saying, why are you spending all this money on a new logo that's probably worse than the previous one? And if you look at this branding, you can see in the background where it says Rally the World. I mean, that's the kind of sort of, canvas sort of level that we're at talking tennis, if you like. And I could probably do that for $50 if you want, rather than, the hundreds of thousands that they probably spent on it and maybe more. Now, that doesn't mean there might be a load of other cool stuff to come. There may be huge improvements to the website and stuff. But so far, yeah, underwhelming is the word I would suggest.
Right. And why'd they select the color green?
Don't know. I don't listen, of all the issues that the WTA has with branding and marketing and issues, etc., the logo wasn't one of them. I don't remember anyone in the last, of all the people that have complained about, not just the WTA, but ATP as well, and tennis as a whole, I've not heard one person say, oh, that logo needs updating,
Exactly. You're not wrong, John.
But there we go. But as I say, there may be a load of other cool stuff, and they're just starting with this. Of course, what they've done quite cleverly in a way is to get all these players on board and all the promo stuff there. And they're going to be on board because they're top 10, top 50.
Exactly.
But I'm kind of more interested to hear actually what, they're going to do for people a bit lower down the ladder, and maybe also some improvements to the website. So when you Google the words head to head, you actually go to the WTA website with a nice, head to head, which is what happens when you Google ATP head to heads.
Right.
And a load of data stuff and stats and
Exactly.
But there we go. And maybe just the Twitter account being a bit more imaginative as well.
Yeah, not making mistakes, but
yeah, you'd like that. You'd like that. I mean, I say that, but you could go through Talking Tennis's Twitter and YouTube feed, and I'm sure there's plenty of mistakes, but we don't quite have, I know they don't have a huge budget, but we don't quite have their budget. But I still probably think we make less mistakes than they do.
Right. All right, Griekspoor wins the pressure point. So 40-30.
And by the way, although I agreed with you when you said it was a bit early to say, Griekspoor's win the match from here, but I think the emphasis there was just how big that game felt that Lau was sort of highlighting, Right. And this could be another big one as well, obviously at 40-30.
Another huge return from Steph. He's able to step up and hit a winner on the short ball.
He's not letting Tallon off the hook at all.
Right. And he's trapping him there at the baseline on the return. Great depth. Yeah. I think that's definitely mentally kind of weighing a bit on Griekspoor here on serve. Hasn't been as easy, and there we see a double fault.
Yeah.
So it brings up break point.
Did he have many break? Did Steph have one or two in that previous service game of Tallon's?
Yeah, I think he had two.
Two, okay.
Big wide serve. Steph with the highest slice.
It wasn't easy. Oh, and after praising him for his network, he dumps one in the net, and that was a million times easier than any of these other volleys that we've been seeing the last few days.
Oh. Wow, I think it was on break point where he had that awesome pickup.
Yeah, it was. And I could see why James, when it came to that previous pickup that you highlighted, I can see why James was like, has that gone over the net? Because they went for a bizarre camera angle.
I know. Why did they do that angle?
I don't know. Sometimes you can look clever when something cool happens at that angle. Maybe the player falls over or something. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But other times you can look pretty not so clever. And I think that was one of them because we really need a better angle to see if that, because I don't think we could even see if the ball went over the net. But listen, let's focus on the present because that point was Griekspoor's after an excellent serve out wide, as you highlight. Steph did really well to get a racket on it. What helped was there was a bit of depth on that sort of defensive return. So it made the smash on this particular point. Of course, your break point, you're facing break point. So it makes that sort of bouncing, waiting smash all the more difficult, even if you've got the whole court to aim at. He gets it in. Steph once again sort of does pretty well with it. And then it ends up with, as I say, an easier volley than he's probably had. We've seen him pull off this week, but he actually puts it into the net. It was a decent, considering where Steph was on the court and where he was throughout the point. Steph made a really good work with that backhand shot down the line. He made Griekspoor work for that volley, but he still should be putting that away 8 times out of 10, I would suggest.
Yeah, and I think Griekspoor definitely felt the moment. That is a tough kind of overhead. That had depth on it. It's not like Griekspoor's Nico Jari who goes after those type of shots like it's a casual overhead no matter where he is, but most players are comfortable just to put that in and play out the point. So
I mean, playing the scoreboard is such a huge part of tennis. I mean, I remember this point in a way reminds me of Alcaraz set point down to Djokovic, I think at the end of the second set, I think in a tiebreak in Australia. And he has a decision to make, which I think 9 times out of 10, he does the overhead, just like Griekspoor just did. It's one of those sort of balls and he's got a one, but because he's facing set point, he decides to just play a neutral rally. So he lets it bounce. And rather than go for the smash off the bounce, He lets it just land on his racket and have he'd rather just go back to neutral rather than probably winning the point, but it's a nervy overhead, if you like. And he just trusted himself to win the rally from a neutral position, which, to be fair, against most players, in fact, every player probably except Djokovic on the planet, he probably would. But he ends up losing the point. And, that was probably the most important point of the match in many respects.
Right.
I don't know if you saw some of the comments this week from Gerard Piqué, the former Barcelona defender.
What did he have to say?
Well, generally, when Piqué opens his mouth when it comes to tennis, or when he makes decisions when it comes to tennis, they tend to be not universally popular. And sometimes I might support him a little bit, but I don't support. He basically wants to change the scoring system of tennis. He wants to go ad out all the time. So you get to deuce and then you go ad out, And for me, one of the beauties of tennis, and this is not just some old school, old school kind of traditionalist, because I'm all for changes if I think they're going to be good. But to go ad out, it's fine for doubles outside of slams, fine. But anywhere else on tour, no. I mean, these epic games, if you remember I think one of the final, I think it was the final game of the match in Paris-Bercy between Holger Rune and Djokovic about 3 years ago, just the game of the year. The Wimbledon game between Djokovic and Alcaraz 2023. Again, the 25-minute, 30-minute epic that in many respects, again, decided the match in so many ways that where I think Alcaraz, he certainly won the game. I don't know if it was a hold or a break. I think it was a break, actually. But anyway, Anyway, we've got a set point here for Stefanos Tsitsipas.
Right, and even yesterday, John, the Medvedev Griekspoor final game. Medvedev has, I think he had 3 game points, including at 40-30, and then it was a long deuce battle. But I'm with you. Very important. And it's Steph who seals it with an ace wide.
Nice. Stefanos Tsitsipas. Yeah, I have to look into the technicalities behind this racket change that Stefanos has made, because I'm not sure I fully understand. Has he made it a smaller head or a bigger head, or is it? I mean, I know people were talking about the color, but I think it must be a lot more than just the color that he's seen.
Right. Yeah. I James, welcome back.
Hey, James. James is attempting to come back, but go on, answer my question, Bernard, or point if you like.
I think he mimicked Carlos a little bit. I think they made the racket a bit heavier.
Okay.
That's what I believe. I don't think any sort of extension on it though.
Okay.
That's what I got from it. You can definitely look back into it here. Is that right in your knowledge?
Yeah, I'd actually, to be honest with you, other than the fact he's made an adjustment, I don't know what the specific adjustment is, but I'm actually going to maybe have a quick look now to see if I can find out.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I mean, it's funny because the racket is black, obviously, so you don't, and it's a Wilson, but it kind of reminds you of what these guys do in the off season. When they're testing rackets, they're most of them are all blacked out, so they don't really, know what they're using. In this case, I think it's great to see, Steph take it and run with it and have this sort of success. And I think, his team's been really behind him kind of all week, pushing him, keep going, trust yourself, back yourself. Oh, and it looks like we're going to have an on-court MTO for Griekspoor.
Oh, I saw this. Listen, I don't know what the details are behind this MTO, but I saw him, I think, at that 3-4 game, maybe when he eventually wins it. I just thought he looked puffed out, but it might have been something a bit more. And by the way, it still might have been that he was a bit puffed out and he's actually yet taking this medical time out to recharge the batteries. But let's see.
Right. Yeah, it looks like he's getting a little bit of work done on the groin.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I mean, I wonder how many hours he spent on court. Obviously, it's semi-final, and I don't think he's played a huge amount of tennis this year. So it's not like he's playing like 3 tournaments in a row. But he is. If he's going to make the final, he's going to have to win his 4th match in a row over 3 sets.
All right, and there you popped up Gil Gross's tweet. That was interesting. Obviously, I feel like Steph was talking about how the courts have gotten slower, the balls, aren't made as, or they're just the balls are, they're getting bigger quicker, so they're not flying as much. And that was a little bit interesting to me because I think I saw some people being like, doesn't that help Steph? Gives him a little bit more time on the one-handed backhand.
Yeah,
but he's spared this week, knowing that his forehand is still, it's still a top forehand on tour, and he's able to dictate so well with it. And so I think that serve plus forehand combo is still his, most powerful attribute and does the most damage. So
I think this is a conspiracy theory from Rex, which is saying that he's got to black out the Babolat, I think. Anyway, looks like James is back. We'll see how long that lasts for. But I'm never far away, so enjoy the rest of the match.
Thanks for stepping in a bit there, John.
Thank you, John.
I'm really hoping now that my internet connection is somewhat stable. Like I said, Brenner, this is the first time I've had these issues when it comes to trying to do a stream, and my home hub deciding to sort of pack it in every 5 minutes.
I can vouch for that. I mean, James, other members of us have all had issues over the time. I remember, I remember last week, James, or 2 weeks ago, I had 1 or 2 issues with my own internet, but James is pretty solid in terms of internet. So this is the first time I can recall it happening in 3 years, really, with James anyway.
Yeah. Right, but I can see that at the moment, Tallon is on the ground, and he's currently got a towel wrapped around his leg, and he's getting a physio appointment. What's happened? What's occurred?
A little bit out of the blue, but it is on court, so that's at least that's positive for Griekspoor fans. He's not going off court to take an off-court MTO. Just getting a little massage, getting stretched out, trying to loosen that groin hip area up a bit. Hello, Neuron. Welcome back. Welcome in.
Waiting for the next question. So James James Rodriguez is 3 times better than me. Well, probably at football, he certainly is. Yeah,
I think I'll take this. Newton talking about the Tsitsipas outright. Yeah, I mean, Paula Badosa is making her way in the Merida Open down in Mexico.
Yeah, she's getting a job. Well, she got a bye for the second round, but she got the job done last night quite well, didn't she?
Yeah, it's never easy to play, Christian. All right, so the second set is now underway. Griekspoor to serve.
So so you're gonna have to fill me in, and I'm gonna sound like a bit of an idiot here, but how was the game, obviously, that Tsitsipas was able to break Griekspoor?
Yeah, it was on the first breakpoint look. Tallon actually hit a great serve wide, probably right on the line, and Steph was able to just get a racket on it. And usually you think, it comes back with a little bit of lob. This time it was in the air for, at least 2 seconds, 3 seconds, but landed fairly deep. And, Griekspoor had one of those, kind of overheads on the bounce, and he took it, he went wide again, similar to his serve, and followed it in. And Steph, kind of was a little bit too far back to make a true passing shot. So he kind of just hit a backhand that Tallon had to volley, and he just kind of missed an open court volley. He's about kind of in between probably right around the middle of the service box, and it's just a forehand volley that he was trying to hit cross court and put it into the net. So with poor quality balls. Also, Griekspoor, comfortable hold to start the set. Yeah, poor quality balls. I think it's all, that's the sport that we're dealing with. Every tournament is different. I actually think the Doha Dubai balls are fairly similar. That's neither here nor there. That's just something that players on the tour, some have been outspoken and others are just kind of, you got to roll with it. That's how it is. Casper's, one of those guys who, he's like, you got to adapt. That's what makes a tour what it is. Nurlan is not a Pagula fan today. She's the top seed in Austin.
She's been making her way quite well through that tournament.
And it's a double fall from Steph. I think that's his first one of the match.
That feels like his first one of the match, doesn't it?
Yeah, so we're finishing up our second semifinal here in Doha. Got 2 semifinals tonight in Acapulco, and it is quarterfinal day in Santiago. Anyone in the chat have any thoughts, comments on Santiago? Debbie Baez going for the back-to-back defense of his Rio and Santiago titles. James, any thoughts on any of the other tournaments? Any players?
I think James is frozen once again.
Oh,
don't worry. What were you just talking about? You were talking about one of the other tournaments, weren't you?
Yeah. I was talking about Santiago.
Yeah. What do you think about? See, I love the golden swing. I love to have, as you just highlighted, in a different manner in terms of the balls and stuff. I like the variations. I like it when we appear on the grass and Casper Ruud is like, oh, I want to go back to the clay. I like it when we're on the clay and Daniel is saying, can we go back to the hard courts, but not those hard courts, if you know what I mean.
Right.
And so on and so on.
Yes.
And that's all part of it. Anyway, it looks like we've got James back anyway.
Hopefully, yeah. I like all those things as well when we switch surfaces. I will say I'm almost in a. I think I can maybe. The Sunshine Double will probably see me through, but I'm almost to the extent now where I'm like, okay, I'm ready for a change of surface. I'm ready for a different look of tennis under the.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's about time. It'll definitely be interesting for some of the Golden Swing guys to come back to the hard courts. Indian Wells, a very slow outdoor hard track. Miami a bit faster. We'll see if any sorts of conditions have changed there. As it appears, James is frozen.
With Sinner's absence during this spell, it does make things a little bit more interesting because Alcaraz and Zverev are not the lock that Sinner tends to be at certain tournaments and certain conditions. You just never know. I would say Alcaraz at Indian Wells is as close a lock as Alcaraz has on the tour. I still think he won't win. He's not going to be winning 10 or 15 in a sort of Rafa Roland Garros, but he probably will win 5, 6, 7 in his career. But Alcaraz being Alcaraz, he still might be vulnerable. You know, he can just throw in a performance every now and again that makes you sit up and take notice. And if he was to go out in Indian Wells, and Zverev has never been beyond the semis there, which, by the way, is still pretty good for 99% of the tour, but by Zverev standards, you'd be expecting him to have made a final there before. You know, and Medvedev being where Medvedev is, and Tsitsipas being where Tsitsipas is. I mean, even if Medvedev or Tsitsipas won Indian Wells, by the way, that would still be oh, wow, you know, that's an interesting change of form anyway. But, you know, who knows? Maybe there's a random player out there as well. If there's a lot of if, muts, and I mean, I'm still going into Indian Wells thinking almost it's Alcaraz's to lose, but only because of the conditions. Miami, I won't be thinking that way. Miami,
exactly.
Right now, I don't know who I would be leaning Zverev, but right now Zverev's form is weird and he's not got any track record in Miami either. Medvedev has got track record there, but there's no track record for Medvedev since the French, since making the US Open final of 2023, arguably, and you could even go back before that for his last title. So yeah, but I'm all here for the randomness that Yannick's suspension is bringing potentially.
Me too. And John, I think this is like the craziest time in tennis in terms of, obviously, think about the top players. You know, Carlos going out in Doha. Zverev hasn't played well, you know, since the Australian Open. And you think about Acapulco and Dallas, and, you know, the Americans haven't performed.
Yeah,
obviously.
We've had a lot of random tours. I mean, there's been a bit of a highlight on South America in terms of the randomness of the tournaments there, and Baez winning the tournament, not playing a top 50 player to win an ATP 500. I get that, but it's also not Baez's fault that Musetti gets injured, so doesn't play. Zverev and he's not top 50, but you know what I mean with Fonseca. That both Zverev and Fonseca don't make it beyond the quarters in Buenos Aires. So in Rio. So you know the players were there, but they just went out early, and Dallas was random, and Acapulco's been super random with his sickness as well.
Right.
But you know, what can you do if you're in Baez's position? Because that was how you kind of began it, with talking about sort of the South American tournaments. Yeah, I'd be all for keeping the South American tournaments as much as possible, and you know, potentially even tweaking the calendar so they begin the clay court season. That's what I would like. I don't want to see them change.
I'm with you. Got to interrupt you here, John, as we have.
Yeah, because I've just seen a volley there.
Oh, you can see the legs are a bit gone for Griekspoor here. Another good serve though, down break point. It's a wide one on the line.
Yeah, he was on top of the point again. You know, it wasn't a I mean, there was a lot of differences in terms of especially how the volley went out in the end, but there was some similarities to how he got broken towards the end of the first set. But you might be right. Maybe I'm going to watch the replay of that volley. I'm going to see if there's a huge amount of leg work. In fact, they're going to cut off the replay, so I'm not going to see it. But yeah, maybe he needed to just adjust his position a bit, and maybe there was an almost, what's the word? A sort of not lack of effort on that volley, but
it's just like
it was a resigned volley. It was a resigned volley. It wasn't one that this is going to help me save a break point and really make a match of this.
Yeah, definitely tough. I mean, it was actually a good slice.
Someone who knows you, someone called Charlie O'Reilly.
Yeah. Charlie, thanks for tuning in.
You seem to have your own fandom, actually. I've noticed that. I've seen a few people sort of liking things and a few follows here and there, and I've got the impression that you brought your little posse along, Brenner.
I'm doing all I can, John. I'm just trying to spread love for this sport. I'm trying to spread love for this sport. So I'm lucky I got a little crew that backs me and supports me. So we're just gonna keep going.
I don't know if King Arthur USA is one of them, and I'm not even sure.
I don't think so.
What are PEDs? Do you know?
Yeah, performing enhancing drugs.
Oh, okay. I should know. That's because we were talking about Yannick, I guess, not
exactly.
Steph, in my opinion, is best along with Chapeau. Yeah, okay. I mean, actually, Chapeau and Felix. You never thought you'd be saying this. It sounds like I'm coming from an alternative universe right now, but Chapo and Felix are almost the solid players on tour right now.
I know my Canadian buddy who, hasn't watched much tennis, but I've done my best to get him into it. He's like, my Canadians are rolling. I mean, they've claimed 3 titles together out of like the 7 or 8 opportunities. So it's good to see them playing well. And Chapo was pretty outspoken yesterday, actually, after dropping that first set to Garon. He was able to reset. And knowing, I think he was down 2-0 in the head-to-head. So
with both these players that I've just highlighted, they have been there when draws have opened up a little bit, let's say. And when it comes, like in Felix's case, obviously he had a huge semi-final last week to deal with, and he wasn't quite able to get over the line against Rublev. But, like I said, A, you've got to be there to pick up the pieces. B, he's won 2 titles this year, Felix, and might yet win a 3rd. So, that's a lot. That's a lot of ticking of boxes. Nerland, by the way, every time somebody mentions Mira Andreeva, along with Anisimova or 1 or 2 other people that I have in my WTA top 10 come of the year, then really you should know my thoughts on Mira Andreeva in terms of her 2025 and me seeing it being another huge step forward, because I have her, I think, year-end number 6, and that was made, obviously that prediction was made in December. And so, I'm pretty big on her, but I wasn't aware. I knew that she had a great chance over the coming weeks and months to make some more steps forward in terms of her ranking. I was aware of that, but I didn't know just how bad her 2024. If this is accurate, she went out in the first round of Indian Wells, Rome, Wimbledon, US Open, and Miami, where I think she withdrew it, says Nerland's suggestion. So basically, this period from now until the US Open, she didn't have a great period last year. So there's huge opportunities for her to even shoot up even higher in the rankings. But she's already kind of, ticked off the 2 things that I would be saying that would be a nice, when we look at players, we often look at a nice semi-smooth upward curve. We expect there might be a few bumps in the road, but a bit like Fonseca, if you said to me, listen, 2 things for Fonseca to do, or 3 things for Fonseca to do this year, break the top 100, make the first round of a slam and have an honourable exit or run, if you like, which I think Australia's already done. Maybe win a title. Maybe. Probably that's even way beyond that I would have said back in, say, November, before he really took off with that year-end finals win at the Next Gen. And then with Mira Andreeva, I would have said similar things, although probably another level up. I would have said win a big tournament, i.e. a 1,000, and crack the top 10. Maybe have a huge slam run, a semi-final like she did last year in the French, or even make the final. But beyond that, she's already achieved, even if she has a rough 6 months, she's already kind of achieved what I would be looking for, if you know what I mean.
All right. I'm happy to chat Mira Andreeva all day. I will interrupt you, John. Tsitsipas had a few, not a few, but he had a great drop shot backhand in his previous game, and then he finished the game off with a pickup down the line on the backhand side, which is beautiful. And now we're on 30 all here. Griekspoor's kind of last chance to stay in this. And wow, it's an amazing backhand pass that just lands right inside the line. So
that is lovely.
40-30. Yeah, 40-30 to give himself at least a lifeline here in this match.
These variations from Tsitsipas, I don't know his coaching situation right now. Do you, Stephs?
Yeah, I know he has a new coach, but he's kind of got a camp with him this week.
Okay.
He's wearing one of the
nice forehand winner.
Patrick, yeah, great forehand. He's wearing one of the Mortagolu's logos.
I mean, Stefanos has never been like 100% with Patrick, but there's been, he's practicing there. I think maybe some data sharing is done. I've heard Patrick, or it might even been spoken to, I'm not sure, one of the two, where he sort of said, I think it was on TV where I heard Patrick talking about I think he was willing Steph on to get to world number one back when he had that shot in Australia of 2023. And so there's a closeness there. I've seen his father at the academy there as well, as in Steph's father. But so there's a closeness of stuff, and I'm sure there's coaches and data for him to lean on. But I don't know who his rock solid coach is since. So he had the Philippoussis thing, then he moved away from that. Then Philippoussis came back. A lot of people probably don't remember the first stint because I think it was just for one tournament, might have been Australia 23 even. And then that was off again. And in between, his father kept coming and going. But then I think him and his father had a pretty permanent sort of coaching split sometime last year. And since then, I don't really know if he's just been leaning on Davis Cup coaches and this kind of thing.
Yeah. John, so I did look up like who the ATP lists as his coach. You would be able to pronounce this name a lot better than me. It's Dimitris Sarazinkalu. I don't know. You can give it a try.
It sounds Greek, so I'm not necessarily saying I would be much better. But let me get this. Dimitris, coach of Tsitsipas.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. It's a real tricky one. Yeah, so I can see why. Dimitris Chatsinoukoulou. It looks like a cross between some Eastern European and Greek name, actually, even. So it's not even solid Greek to me, but I could be way off.
Right.
The first name is very Greek, and the second half of the surname seems very Greek. But yeah, I'll just copy and paste it and put it in the chat and let everyone else have a go at pronouncing it. But yeah, okay. Is that a permanent? Does not seem to ready to hire. I'm just getting this from Punto de Break, by the way. He's got this Dimitris guy who's a temporary coach he hired after his split with his father. Well, it's temporary, but we are 4 or 5 months into that temporary thing. Is he with? Do we know if he's with him in Dubai right now?
I am trying to find an image of.
Let's see if I need to see what he looks like. Yeah.
Right, I think he is a Davis Cup.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I can see him now in this article from Punto de Break from last year.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's as much as we can bring you on the coaching situation with
Yeah.
Steph.
Yeah, he was the captain of the Davis Cup team and the Olympics. So
yeah, that's a common sort of tennis thing. I think when you have a split from a coach and you don't really know who to take on board, you sort of just lean on who's our Davis Cup captain sort of thing, and can you fill in until I find someone else? And if it works out, you might even get a permanent job here.
Okay, so it is him with the Mortogalo logo.
Left, yeah. Oh, it is him with the Mortogalo logo.
Yeah, that's what Lau is saying. But they're little half chance for Griekspoor. But Steph puts away the volley, so 30-all.
Second serve. Run around forehand for Griekspoor, but it's a bit short, that forehand. And Stefanos is now up in the rally. Probably should have done better with that forehand return there, Griekspoor.
Right, and you see how deep Griekspoor is?
Yeah, I did. That cost him in that. I mean, it's always easy to be clever after the event. I think about this when I'm playing as well, and you keep playing with your sort of your return position, but even your rally position, and sometimes, of course, they're often related because your brain can sometimes not be engaged. You know, let's say you want to have a deep return position, but you want to hug the baseline during the rally, and they're normally correspondent. But sometimes you don't, your brain isn't fully in gear and you don't remember to hug the baseline, which is the idea. Mind you, he's hugging the baseline. Well, he was hugging the baseline, but now he's been pushed further back. But that's because of Steph's play. As I see this rally unfold, can Steph stay solid on the backhand? A drop shot from Stefanos Tsitsipas, and he's won the game and he's gone 4-2 in front. And that's this kind of variation. That's not to completely criticize Stefanos Tsitsipas in the past, but he's not been multi-dimensional in a Carlos Alcaraz kind of way. And by the way, this drop shot from an absolute speed wizard who's 100% fit might have been chased down, but there was no way Griekspoor was going to run that down.
Yeah, it's to me, John, I think this is great to see from a confidence perspective. obviously Steph has dealt with a lot in his life over the last year, including,
Yeah.
separating from, your father who's been with you
Yeah.
every step of the way in your career. And he's still, I know he's still fairly young, and still has plenty of tennis to go, but it was going the wrong direction kind of over the last, we'll call it 6 months or so, apart from that little spark of a clay swing. But it's great to see.
Oh
I don't know
yeah,
if
right. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the Berrettini match yesterday, Tsitsipas Berrettini, but
No, I've seen the highlights, and the highlights reel, if you know what I mean. So I've seen. I heard
yeah,
you referencing one or two of the points earlier, and they were pretty
yeah,
special.
that pickup at 1540
Yeah. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
is just insane, like
Yeah.
just insane. Definitely, probably shouldn't have come to the net on that ball, but
I mean, again, clever after the event, right?
exactly.
I played recently, and I kept getting picked off at the net, but yeah, probably I should have learned my lesson after 2 hours of tennis. But yeah.
Jake, thanks for watching. Sure we'll be seeing you soon. Have a good
I'm
rest
sure
of
we
your
will
day.
take. And looks like Jake is going off after a well earned rest, and Ashley's subbing in for him because Ashley's just arrived.
Welcome, Ashley, as Griekspoor holds. Just a little bit of pressure
I
here,
mean,
just to let him know he's there.
we have semi got distracted because of the
Yeah.
condition of Griekspoor and the condition of the scoreboard, but also what we saw at the end of the first set. For those just joining, such as Ashley, Griekspoor had a medical timeout where it looked like he was getting some muscular work after what's been a pretty heavy week for the Dutchman, where he's been pushed to sort of 3-set limits throughout the week, and maybe that's catching up with him. But as a result, you and I occasionally are going off down tangents, and sometimes tennis players mentally can wander, so let's say Tsitsipas and start thinking, okay, I've got the final tomorrow, I need to get this, sort of be ready for that. And even if these guys are professionals and, seeded number 4 and, been in Grand Slam finals in the case of Stefanos Tsitsipas and close to world number ones, even the absolute best can occasionally get distracted. And yeah. So Stefan's got to stay professional, but it would be a hell of a turnaround here for Griekspoor. This is not just a set and a breakdown,
Right. And it looks like Griekspoor kind of massaging his elbow there as he's sitting down. Yeah, definitely heavy lifting for him the last 2 weeks. But what I will say for Steph is I've watched every post-match presser, and he just got his 350th tour win.
Yeah.
Two wins ago, and he's like, "Oh, that's good, but 500 title sounds better." And I think this is his first time in a semifinal since I mentioned it earlier on the stream, since Gustad.
Yeah.
Just hasn't had success like that.
Post Wimbledon clay, is it? Gustad, isn't it?
I believe so. Or is it? It's that time of summer.
Gustad is definitely post Wimbledon clay because that's where Nadal sort of had one of his final flourishes. Maybe Gustad is before the French Open, but I thought it was post Wimbledon clay. I could be wrong. Let's see. Gustad 2024. I've put Gustad 2024, and it's just given me some wonderful pictures of the landscape. I should put tennis in. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's July, so yeah. Okay, so he made the semis there, did he?
Yeah, and that was when Berrettini and
Howells
had a great week.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and Berrettini beat Tsitsipas in the semis there. Okay.
Right.
The Roy Emerson Arena. Now, isn't there a Roy Emerson Arena somewhere in Australia? Maybe Sydney or maybe even in Melbourne?
Yeah, because he was an Australian player.
Yeah, right. And there's a Roy Emerson. I thought there was a Roy Emerson Arena in. It's not like it could even be Brisbane or something. Mind you, I've just Googled it, and the only one that's coming up is Gustad. So maybe, for some reason, the Swiss have adopted him.
Wow, here it is again, John.
Tell me.
Griekspoor playing so deep. He's just kind of defending the slices and stuff is just, spreading the court. But it was a big point. It was a big point. Love 15 down. Don't want to get yourself in a hole.
Mm-hmm.
Good volley from Steph.
I mean, the defense there was pretty
helpless.
Good.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I say, sorry, but it was good. It was I was looking at one defensive shot that landed deep because I'm a few seconds behind you. But then from that moment onwards, he was a sitting duck. Yeah. I would say the last couple of games, Griekspoor seems to be moving okay.
Yeah.
Although maybe he's attacking that second serve. I've seen a few times where he's really sort of jumped on that second serve. And there he's really sort of taken initiative in the rally. And Stefanos Tsitsipas' backhand breaks down like it was 2024.
Right. And a little fist bump from Griekspoor.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
I do like that. I remember sort of when Rafa was down like 2-0 to Medvedev and on the brink in the third set as well. And he's fist pumping, 1540s. And I'm thinking, well, if he still believes, then surely, we have to sort of take it seriously. So, there's Steph's mum. Yeah. And I see the Moratoglu jacket and Demetrius, our friend that we can't quite get to grips with. Anyway, 30-all. Steph on the forehand, that's what you don't want. And he's just going to keep ranking up the pressure. But that's a nice slice from Griekspoor, but he's going to stay on the defence and Tsitsipas going to put the volley away at the net. Yeah, Griekspoor just couldn't get out of that dynamic, really. And once Stefanos is on the forehand like that in charge of the rally, there's very few players in the world that are going to win many points. He did kind of let him back in it there, and maybe Griekspoor, as he looked a bit annoyed with himself at the end of the rally, it's just because there was a half chance for himself as Steph comes towards the net there. But it's an ace, is it? Yes, it is.
Yes. Wow.
So from 15-30, that might have been the last bit of danger for Stefanos. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
I have no idea why I would say that. You think Kasatkina might be a bad influence on her? It's almost like Kasatkina saying, "Come on, let's go to a nightclub and let's have some fun." I haven't seen many of Kasatkina's blogs, and I'm sure there's something that's been going on in a blog that Nurlan has referenced in it. Anyway, Griekspoor is racing into a 30-love lead. Nurlan is a big Mira Andreeva fan, so he's obviously wanting to protect her in terms of tennis as much as possible. So, Stefanos here, probably going to have to serve it out. We'll see. Second serve, 30-love. Oh, lovely backhand winner there. Maybe Griekspoor is finishing these points a little earlier. Maybe.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about that volley he missed to get broken. And
well, it's two
now
volleys
he's showing better
today.
tennis.
Well, that's true, because I said that it was sort of a dejected volley. I'm not saying he gave up on it. It was a tired, lack. I've only seen it once. I haven't seen the replay, but I was keen to see the replay to see its leg movement, whether that was to blame. It's a lovely backhand winner there as well. So we're going to have a change of ends now, and Stefanos is going to have to serve this out. But yeah, I mean, it's a tale of two volleys, arguably. You would throw in the fact that his movement at the beginning of the third set seemed to be compromised, and even the energy levels at the end of the first seemed that way as well. But yeah, those two volleys, which, we were praising him just before that, weren't we, for his net play and how great it was against Medvedev and how good it can be. I mean, Griekspoor, I think Griekspoor's pretty decent on the grass, isn't he? Does he have a good run in that Netherlands tournament?
He has a good one. Hergen Botet.
Exactly. Another one of those. There's 3 or 4 names, but one of them is Rosmalen, isn't it? I think, and that can always get you out of a hole when you struggle with pronunciation. Rosmalen's, I think it's called the Rosmalen Open or something. But yeah, Hertogenbosch.
Hertogenbosch. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's had good runs. I think he made the semis last year. Did he make the final or even win it the year before?
I think he won it the year before, 2020.
Yeah,
2023.
And he has pretty good sort of track records in the Netherlands, isn't it? He sort of turns up and he beat Thompson in the final. Yeah, beat De Minaur. I mean, this is 2023, so it's obviously a slightly different version of De Minaur to what we saw in 24 and even 25. But yeah, beat De Minaur en route to the final.
Yeah, Tallon, loves the serve and volley. Yeah, loves the serve and volley, the chip and charge.
And if you love serve and volley, well, you are almost Daniel Medvedev's kryptonite. You're basically the player that. This is why Alcaraz in particular will pretty much, I think, always, because the thing with Alcaraz, we don't associate with serve and volley, but he can just do it.
Right.
It's just one of those things that he can do.
Apart from that 2023 US.
Yeah. There's always an exception, but it proves the rule. I was surprised by that result. Hang on, Stefanos here edging closer to victory.
A tough net cord there for Griekspoor.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was going to mention this before, John, because I was curious. I was like, has he served out a match this week? And I went to look, and he broke Khachanov serving to stay in the set, and he broke Berrettini serving to stay in the set. So I was curious. He did serve for it against Sonego, but I was like, all right, it's a little bit new territory for him, given his.
Do you remember? I don't want us to miss a point because obviously I'm at 30 love. I don't know where you're at, but do you remember a week ago you and I were so humming and hawing over that first round against Sonego?
I know. I just thought about it.
Did you go Sonego in the end?
I did.
And I don't blame you for it. I don't blame you for it because I went Tsitsipas, but I was like 51-49. I don't know why. I'm going feeling more than evidence necessarily, but I just went for the guy. I think because I wasn't sure for a million different reasons. I think Sonego has missed a few weeks. I don't remember, or he hasn't since Australia either played a lot or shown a lot. We're going to have three match points now for Stefanos anyway after a 1-2 off his serve. So yeah, that was my only thinking for going for Tsitsipas. It's just that if Tsitsipas can do it, then he should win this match more often than not. Anyway, 3 match points here for Stefanos Tsitsipas for a straight sets win over Griekspoor. First serve down the tee lands in. Griekspoor's return is actually decent, although it looked pretty unorthodox. It's a weird net cord, and it's going to bounce back on his side of the court. Stefanos Tsitsipas clinches his fist. You would not think it was his first final in almost in 8 months, but it is, and perhaps it was the inevitability that even Stefanos probably felt about that. That was why he wasn't too exultant at the win there. It was it's 3 match points in the bag. So that's the first reason. But probably from the moment he broke at the beginning of the second set, I think I and everyone else felt that Stefanos was going to ultimately cruise into the final. I think he did. Did he face a break point in the entire match though, Stefanos? I don't think he did. If he did, I don't recall it.
I think so. Let me double check.
Yeah, you have a quick look at that. I don't think he did.
No, he did not.
And that was okay. We don't know the point at which Griekspoor finally started to feel the fatigue or the muscular aches that he was having. But it felt very comfortable for Stefanos from minute 1 to minute, 1.5 hours, 90 minutes, or whatever it was, got the job done in the end. And so a comfortable win for Stefanos. Maybe, as I say, he was able to take advantage of some trials and tribulations over the side of the net. We saw, obviously, Griekspoor getting some treatment at the end of the first set. But by that stage, you could also just talk about 2 points. As I said to you before, 2 volleys, pretty close to the net. Both were missable. I would say both are 8 out of 10s rather than 9.5 out of 10s. But you would expect someone with with Griekspoor's talents, as we highlighted throughout this week, with his ability at the net and ability at the net throughout his career in many respects, you would expect him to put those away and hold serve in those 2 games. But Stefanos was there. Stefanos' variety was on show today. His backhand was pretty good, as it has been throughout the week. And he's into his first final since the start of July last year, and he will face Felix Auger-Aliassime. Now, don't be afraid of repeating what you said at the beginning of the match, because I know you did touch on Felix earlier. What did you see or make of Felix either earlier today or throughout this week? Because I haven't seen Felix play yet this week.
Yeah, I'm a little biased here because I didn't watch a lot of Felix this week. The matches were super early for me on the East Coast. And yesterday I was traveling, so I was not able to watch the Cilic match, but I did hear a little bit of Damien's stream and heard
me too.
He's kind of those chances that Cilic missed, especially in the first set, I think. And then he ended up, handing Felix the first set, and then they go 3. And it's a little bit of a different story, but I think just by the looks of it, and I'll start with kind of the Bublik match, just kind of, the resiliency and, trying to win that mental battle. Obviously, Bublik was a tough first round draw, given that Bublik was a semi or a finalist in Dubai last year. So, he was coming to defend those points. And, there was definitely some antics within the crowd, within the chair, within himself. And he felt, that pressure, but was able to overcome it and win in 3. And you look at, obviously, all of his matches winning in 3 sets, and he won the deciding set, in all of them. So it makes you, think about how tight it was versus Hals last week in Doha, and he gets him again, and he drops the first set, and he's probably thinking, not this again. Don't put me in this scenario. But, like I said at the start, he saved 7 of 9 break points. So just from kind of the second set on, he was able to lock down and do well behind his serve.
Yeah, he's had to get out of a few holes this week, as you've said. I mean, probably the biggest story that emerged from that Bublik match, which is the first round, was that incident with the ball kid, wasn't it?
Right.
I felt, of course, the ball kid made a mistake. Of course, Felix loses that point, not even 9 times out of 10, probably 98 times out of 100, because there's no even guarantee that he's going to get his racket on it enough to get it back in play, never mind win the point. But the ball kid does intervene. It is the right call. I think Gil Gross made that point as well. And it is the right call because it was enough of an intervention from the ball kid for it to be replayed. Bublik does actually go on and win the next point, which helps a little bit, although I know there's the whole butterfly effect, which I think I tweeted about as well. So anyway, whatever. Cut long story short, Felix's week it's been a tough-ish run to the final. Maybe Halis in the semi-final on paper looks a little bit softer, but I think with Bublik and Borges in the first 2 rounds, that sort of, flips it a little bit. They're pretty tough, opening rounds of an ATP 500 anyway. And Felix is highlighted in the chat, 3rd final of the year, and he's won the previous 2. And he's going to be playing Stefanos Tsitsipas. Now, Tsitsipas' run, of course, including that straight sets win over Griekspoor today. What else has Stefanos had to deal with this week? Well, he had a match with Berrettini, didn't he, yesterday? Who else has he beaten en route? Let's have a quick look. Hatchnov. Oh, that's a tough run. That's a tough one. No wonder he's been leaking a few sets there as well. Playing Hatchnov and, of course, Sonagov in that first round that we highlighted, in fact, previewed about a week ago. So, yeah, that's a very, very meritable run to the final for him. 3 sets over Hatchanov, who I think, certainly I remember a year or 2 ago, and it might have flipped in that time, but Tsitsipas, has he ever even lost to Hatchanov? I think if he has lost to him, it might be something like 10-1 or something the head-to-head. I remember their Aussie Open semi-final in 2023. Going into that, it was like a 6-0 head-to-head or an 8-0 head-to-head or something like that, wasn't it? Unless I'm dreaming with that Hatchanov head-to-head. Does that ring any bells to you?
Yeah, 8-1.
8-1. There you go. So, it's 9-1 now. They've probably got 9-1 now. Since with that Dubai one. When was the loss then? Okay, 2023 Miami. So so going into that Aussie Open semi-final, it would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 0. Okay, so 5 and 0 going into that was the semi-final. So I just remember going into that thinking, Stefanos is winning this, no doubt about it. Khachanov sort of has that sort of, and I'm going to get to Felix and Stefanos in a second, but Khachanov has that kind of feeling as a player. He's pretty much getting the maximum out of his abilities, and he will beat players that he should beat and will lose to players that he should lose to. He's not one that's going to bring too many surprises. That has changed a bit in the last year, 18 months. In the bad side for Khachanov, but that's mainly because he's had a few unusual injury issues, because before that I used to see him pretty much be a mainstay of the tour. Anyway, do you know, or have you checked the head-to-head with Felix? Because if you haven't, I'd like you not to, but if you have, then you can tell me.
I have not.
Great. Do you know what it might be, or can you guess or guesstimate what the head-to-head is? Because I actually I just Googled. I'll tell you why I'm asking this question, Bernard. I Googled the head-to-head, actually having no idea what the head-to-head would be.
And I'm thinking to myself, it's
I can't remember many matches.
That's what I'm trying to think of right now.
It's almost they haven't played since 2023, albeit it was towards the end of 2023. So that might be a reason why I'm not immediately springing to mind. I'm not going to say the specific matches, but I'm going to look at these and just try and remember them. There's a lot of ones here I don't remember. Let's say that. There's others that I do. Oh, that's very interesting. There is one semi-interesting part of the head-to-head. Anyway, do you want to have a guess? If I tell you they've played each other 9 times, okay?
9.
There you go. Can you guess that? Just give me a guess on the head-to-head.
I lean Steph, given his mainstay in terms of being a top player over the last 5 years. I'd go 9. I mean, I would go like 5 and 4, but I would go 5-4, 6-3 Steph.
Go on, go for one. Go for one of them.
5-4. How about that?
6-3.
6-3. Okay.
You didn't embarrass yourself, Brenner. You didn't embarrass yourself. That's the important thing. 6-3. So, but if you'd have asked me, I would have leaned Steph as well. Probably would have gone something like 5-4. But yeah, a lot of these I don't recall. You might. So let's see if you do. They last played each other in Paris-Bercy. I think Tsitsipas made the semis that year. That was round of 32. But actually, that's a pretty good win for Stefanos, because okay, Felix in Paris-Bercy is not pulling up too many trees, but he is at that part of the year. We all know Felix indoor, that part of the year in Austria or Basel. Austria or Vienna or Basel?
Vienna,
I think he
Vienna and Basel. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, and I think there's 1 or 2 indoor tournaments around there he does very well as well. So, yeah, and that was 2023 as well, when probably Felix was playing the best tennis of his career. We might have to look back on this period of his career right now as well very soon. But I remember that was the year he made the ATP Tour final. Oh, no, that was 2022. I'm getting the 2 years muddled up. Yeah, 2022 was when he was playing probably the best tennis of his year. It started in Australia, where he gets a match point with Medvedev. That epic match that Felix had against Nadal. The real disappointment for that year was Wimbledon, because I went into Wimbledon thinking, here we go, Felix. Did he have Sam Querrey maybe in the first round? Which was really rough. Might have been Sam Querrey Felix in the first round, which is a really rough first round. Yeah, that was the Sam Querrey again of 2022, which is a different kettle of fish these days. Anyway, but that year was a pretty much a wonderful step forward for him, making the ATP Tour finals and winning some titles on the way. And it's been pretty much a step back for him ever since, until the beginning of this year. And something has switched for Felix, and I don't know exactly what it is. It might be 1 or 2 kindish draws, but like I say, he's I know he made Madrid final last year, but we all know about the run to Madrid and the war and he's had 1 or 2 this year as well. But listen, if he wins this against Stefanos Tsitsipas, well, we're going to have to really start taking him very seriously. It'll be his 3rd title of the year, and no one has won more.
No, and you're not wrong. I mean, yeah, I'm with you in terms of the draw thing, but Montpellier, it's always a little tricky, and Kovacic, Alex Kovacic, an American who, he's got the one-handed backhand, so maybe that helps him prep. But he was having incredible run where he took down Rublev as well. So that was no gimme of a final. Ended up going to 2 tie breaks the final 2 sets, and obviously De Jong wasn't missing any balls.
His deciding set tiebreak record isn't great, which is why I was fairly optimistic that Rublev would beat him in the semis once it went to that tiebreak last week. So, by the way, not only is Felix winning 2 titles this year and now making a 3rd final, but he's also coming close elsewhere. Semi-finals last week. I guess Australia was a little disappointing. We went out pretty early there, didn't he, in Australia?
Well,
maybe
it was disappointing because the opponent won, but also the
5 sets to David Fokina. I mean, who knows? Maybe David Fokina as well is going to be finally getting hands on some silverware, because I think he's in the semi-finals in Acapulco. Or have I missed something there?
He is, and he's got Chapo. So obviously, it should be.
Maybe that's better for David Fokina to meet him in the semis rather than the final, just because. Maybe that's better for him to get the slightly more difficult opponent, if that makes sense, in the semis. But anyway, I don't want to get distracted by that. I want to come back to Felix against Stefanos Tsitsipas. Given the head-to-head, given the eye test, given the form, which way are you leaning for this match tomorrow?
To be honest, Sean, I don't think I would ever. I didn't think I would ever say it, just given the form. But I do lean Tsitsipas. I think he's had to come through tougher opponents in terms of baseliners, and just what I've seen in terms of, I know Karen and Matteo are big slice players. So what I've just been impressed with Stefanos from the baseline. He's been able to, casually pick these low balls up and place them in such difficult positions. And the way he works his way up the court, it feels like for him at times he looks to force and end the point quicker than maybe he needs to. And what I've seen from him from the baseline and just decision making, his tactics, it's been all the better. And the backhand has held up so much better than I would have imagined on a quicker, fast court, hard court surface.
I said to you about the head-to-head, there's one interesting thing is that Felix won the first 2 back in 2019. And, in terms of breaking out on the tour, by 2019, the Stefanos Tsitsipas, that was the year, I think. Was it the year? When did he beat Roger in Australia? Was that the beginning of 2019? I think it was. So Stefanos is now 1 or 2 years ahead of Felix in their trajectories. And yet it was Felix who won the first clash in Indian Wells. The second clash may be slightly less surprising in that Felix, I think, we now do see as a very good grass court player, and we see Stefanos as probably not. I know Stefanos had some decent results, obviously beating Murray at Wimbledon, but I would be surprised if Stefanos ever made a Wimbledon final or even a semi-final. Felix won the first 2, one on hard, one on grass. And then the remaining 8, I think, if I've done the remaining 7, 6 have gone the way of Stefanos and 1 has gone the way of Felix. The one that did go the way of Felix was the Rotterdam indoor final. Again, that was 2022, where Felix is now growing into a mega player, as I said. And by the end of 2022, he disappointed me a little bit, Felix, in that ATP Tour finals. He went out in the group stage, the round robin stage. And I actually had him, making the semis out of that group because it was the softer group. If you remember, I think there was Djokovic, Medvedev, maybe Tsitsipas and someone else in one group. It was like a really, really big group. And the other group had Rafa, Felix, Kasper, and Taylor Fritz, if you see what I mean.
Maybe it was Rublev. Might have been the...
Yeah, it might have been Rublev in the other group. Yeah, I think it was. Because I think Medvedev lost 3 deciding set tiebreaks, including to Rublev, Rublev hasn't had many. In fact, that might be his only win over Daniel. I'm not sure. He's not had many wins against Daniel anyway, and that was one of them. But anyway, that was Felix's year, and really it's been gradual regression since then. We had the whole thing with Tony Nadal coming on board and then gradually disappearing and not being able to wave the magic wand in the same way that he could do with his nephew. And yet Felix has I was going to say quietly. I said this to Damien about a week ago that Felix is having quietly a good year. Of course, it's a lot louder than quietly, but to the casual fan who just sort of tunes in for the slams, they will be surprised to learn when we rock up in Roland Garros that we'll be talking about Felix Auger-Aliassime, whatever happens between now and then, is having a pretty good year. And yet here we are anyway. He's playing Stefanos Tsitsipas, but Tsitsipas winning 6 of the last 7, and they have, with the exception of one on clay, all been on hard. And one of those indoor hards was one where Felix won. Clay, this would be an easy one to predict, in my opinion, and you can probably guess which way I would. But I don't even need to tell you or the audience which way I would go. Outdoor hard, a little bit more tricky. Form also makes it a little bit trickier because both have been out of form until 2025. Stefanos' return to form has been a lot more recent than Felix's. And yet, like you, the eye test for me, having not seen a lot of Felix this week, but I have seen him enough this year, and I've seen enough of Stefanos this week, and enough of Stefanos today, and the route to the final and the form this particular week to go with Stefanos Tsitsipas getting his first title since. Did he win that one in Gstaad, or did he just make the
just made the semi?
So when was Stefanos Tsitsipas's last?
Monte Carlo.
Oh, of course. So not that long ago, by an Igor and a Carlos standard, Monte Carlo last year is like, an eon. But for Stefanos Tsitsipas and pretty much other human beings on the tour, that's not too long ago. And I think he made the Barcelona final a week later, but Casper returned the time.
It was both. They played Ruud in Monte Carlo final, and
Stefanos Tsitsipas am I right in saying he's never won a 500?
That's correct. And that's what he's been hammering that in the presser.
He has.
All week.
Yeah, and you did mention it. I think these things are a bit of an anomaly. I think Casper's won 250s, 500s, and made Grand Slam finals. Sometimes, it's a bit. Daniel Medvedev hasn't won a title for almost 2 years, I think, or certainly since the 2023. Yeah, almost 2 years since Rome 23. But we all know that he could just play some more 250s and pick up a title. So there is things going on there. And if you're just missing, in Stefanos' case, even more so, when you're winning 250s and 1000s and making Grand Slam finals, you could end your career never winning a 500. I think there's a funny stat that was mentioned in our WhatsApp group about, maybe Cam Norrie has won more 500s on clay than Federer, Djokovic, and someone else put together, maybe Sinner or something like that. Or it's some anomaly. Yeah. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Really, that Djokovic hasn't won that many 500s on clay. Because, this is almost 500 is obviously more important than 250s, but 250s almost mean as much in many ways. A title's a title, and it's just an anomaly. But I do expect him to put it to bed, and maybe it's on his mind if he's mentioning it in his presser.
Right. I think it's just going to be one of those matches where I think the first set's going to be important. I think obviously mentally for Felix, played a lot more tennis every match, going 3 sets.
And he's played more tennis this year as well. I mean, okay, sometimes that can go against you, but maybe right now going into this final, basically he's playing week in, week out, Felix, and he's getting to semis and getting to finals week in, week out, with the exception of Australia. But even in Australia, he played another match in addition to Steph. And Stefanos has played enough tennis this year that he's not going in, not having played enough tennis, or he's coming off the back of an injury. But I think you're right. I think Felix loses that first set. It's going to be a long way back for him. And for that as well, that's another reason for me to do. I'm leaning towards Steph, funnily enough, in the final against Felix with more confidence than I was in the first round against Sonego.
That's how I felt. And this is all, I give Stefanos credit because I brought it up last time we were talking. That the way he lost that match to Himad Medjodovic going out first round to a player who had just competed in a long week in Marseille, and he made the trip. That was just a brutal way to go out. And he's collected his thoughts, collected himself. His team's backed him really well, and he showed up in Dubai, ready to play. Obviously, a tough opening round versus Sonego, got through it, and now I think it's just about this moment is obviously a little bit bigger. I think for Tsitsipas, given his recent track
yeah,
record.
it is. It's actually, I can't overstate how rough a year, and he's had rough moments in 22, 23, and 24, but I can't overstate how rough a year it's been for Stefanos. I mean, maybe him talking things frankly has maybe helped him psychologically. So I'm thinking back to Australia when he loses first round to Mickelson, and it was a bit like he had first round against Bergs the year before, and I was wondering if he might lose to Bergs, and that might have gone 4 sets, or it might have just been a close first couple of sets against Bergs before finally he gets the job done. But I just had similar vibes about the two matches, even though Bergs and Mickelson are slightly different opponents. And Mickelson ends up winning it fairly comfortably, I think. And in his post-match presser there, Stefanos said, maybe I wasn't up for it today. Maybe I'm not always up for it like I was 2 or 3 years ago, because I'm finding it more tricky. I think he didn't say these words, but I was reading between the lines. He's in that sort of no man's land in the rankings. He's not fighting for Grand Slams. He's not fighting for top 5. He's in a sort of 8 to 12 in the rankings where he's sort of bouncing around. He's recently dropped outside the top 10. And maybe that has affected his motivation. He's not getting so close to the line that's keeping him going there. He's actually going out earlier and earlier in a lot of these slams. And if he's going out early in Australia, it's a long way back for him. Okay, he's got the clay court season, but we know how grass and we know how the US Open is for him. So, and Australia has generally been his hunting ground. I think I had him going fairly far in Australia this year because I thought if he gets through Mickelson, actually it opens up quite nicely for a fourth round or quarter final. And I just thought Stefanos in Australia is far more solid than Stefanos in New York, put it that way. But he goes out there, gives that presser, and then he has more results. He has I think he has one decent result. Did he beat Griekspoor in Rotterdam? And you think, okay, that's a decent win. But then he loses to Bellucci. Oh my God.
Bellucci it was, yep.
Yeah, with Rotterdam. And so you think one step forward, one step back. And then you see that loss to Medvedev, where there were two narratives there. One was, oh, I hope Medvedev is okay. That's an incredibly painful injury he's incurred. But he did incur it long before the finish line. And Stefanos wasn't able to, reverse the fortune. And you thought, wow, that killer instinct that Steph said he was lacking to some extent after the loss in Australia seems to have not just betrayed him, but seems to maybe have betrayed him forever. And yet here we are, how quickly things can change in tennis. He's in an ATP 500 final, seeking his first title at that level. And I think he's going to do it.
I think so too, John. And I hope so as well.
Okay, cool. Well, on that bombshell, Brenner, wonderful that you managed to join us today. Thanks as well for giving us a preview for tomorrow's match. Enjoy the rest of your day in Boston. I nearly said New York. It's because I always think of Eastern time and I associate with New York.
And it's associated with New York. That's right.
Yeah. But yes, there we go. Yeah, maybe it's time for Holger Rune to finally turn the corner as well. I know he's having some sickness issues as well at the moment. So fingers crossed that he can return to full health as we head towards the Sunshine Double. But before that, we have tomorrow's final in Dubai between Stefanos Tsitsipas and Felix Auger-Aliassime. I'm going to go Tsitsipas straight sets.
Me too. How about we'll go 7-6, 6-4 for the drama.
You can be more specific. I shall just leave it on the straight sets one. So that way, when he wins the straight sets, I'm right. And unless he wins 7-6, 6-4, you will be wrong, Brenner.
I will. Okay, I didn't give myself much margin there.
Yeah, you didn't.
Have a great day, John.
Thanks so much. You too. Take care. Bye-bye. Everyone else, by the way, you know the drill. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.